What is up everyone? So today on RDH Code we're gonna learn about event handling in Svelte. You most likely wanted to respond to events. For example, if a user clicks a button and submits a form or even just moves their mouse, you want your application to handle the events and execute some code. In this video, let's see how to handle events with Svelte. Our example is going to be that of a simple click counter. You can click on a button and the count value increments. I'm going to begin by defining a new variable. Let count is equal to 0. Make sure to use let and not const as we are going to change the count value in the markup section. Let's add a button. So button, the inner text is going to have a binding to the count variable. So count and within curly braces the variable count. And now our next step is to listen to the click event on this button. Now to listen to event in Svelte we use the on directive. The syntax is on : followed by the event name. For our example it is click. To this we assign a handler. So on the right hand side begin with a pair of curly braces and within curly braces the handler is an arrow function where we are going to increment the value of count by 1. So on the right hand side within parentheses count is equal to count plus 1. If we now save the file and take a look at the browser, we have the count as 0. When I click on the button, count value increments by 1 and the updated value is rendered in the UI. And what we have seen here is an example of inline event handlers. The code to execute is present in the same line as the on directive. This is great for simple logic, but more often than not the logic for many event handlers will be complex. So keeping your JavaScript code in the markup section is not the best idea. In such cases, you can define a function in the script section and assign that function as the event handler. Let's understand with an example. In the script section, I'm going to define a function called handleClick. So function handleClick, where we increment the value of count by 1, so count plus equal 1. In the markup, I'm going to make a copy of the button, but this time instead of using the inline event handler, we are going to assign handleClick. If we now save the file and take a look at the browser, click on the second button and the counter still works as expected. Alright, this is pretty much the basics of event handling in Svelte. Use the on directive followed by the event name followed by the JavaScript code to execute, which can be an inline function or a function that contains more complex logic. Now there are a few more points to discuss about event handling. Let's quickly look at those. Sometimes you might want to access the event object, which gives more information about the event itself. Luckily for us, Svelte automatically passes the event object as an argument to the event handler. So in the handleClick function, we can specify a parameter called event and let's simply log it to the console. If I now go back to the browser, open the console tab, click on the second button, you can see that the event object is logged to the console. This gives us a lot of information about the event itself. It's a mouse event, gives us the coordinates of the click event on the screen, tells us that the target is a button and the types of mouse event is a click event. This event object is exactly what you would find with pure JavaScript and is nothing specific to Svelte, but definitely comes in handy when dealing with the form inputs. What we do have to note here though is that the event object is automatically passed in only if you don't specify any arguments. If you do have to specify an argument, the syntax is slightly different. Let me show that to you. For our counter, instead of incrementing it by 1, let's say it accepts an increment size as its argument. For that we begin by changing the handler into an arrow function. This arrow function automatically receives the event object as its argument. We simply pass that on as an argument to handleClick, but after the first argument we can specify our own argument. Let's specify 5. Make a copy of this button and specify 10. Now for the handleClick function, I'm going to add a second parameter called step size and use that instead of 1. If you now go back to the browser, click on the first button, increments the count by 1. Click on the second button, increments it by 5. Click on the third button, increments it by 10. So if you ever need to pass arguments to your event handlers, this is the way to go about it. Alright, that is pretty much about the event handling in Svelte. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and I'll see you guys in the next video.